In this lesson, I'm going to explain on how white people, aka the Ashkenazi Jews live in Israel today, are not the real Jews. And I will tell you who the real Jews are in the Bible. Professor Williams Carter. Let's begin. In this go, I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich, and the slander of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. Do not fear what you are about to suffer. What does this verse mean? This verse means, I know your tribulation and your poverty. This means, Father, the God of the children of Israel, knows that in these last days, the children of Israel will go through poverty, and they wouldn't be rich in these last days. And you could totally see that with black people and not the Ashkenazi Jews. The Ashkenazi Jews are the white people living in Israel. How are they the chosen people if they're not even going through poverty? And slander of those who say that they are Jews and are not. Who are these people? Who in this world are claiming to be Jews now in these days? You have the Ashkenazi Jews, and you have certain people in certain countries claiming to be Jews and are not. This is what this verse is saying. I prove my point here. That's point 1. Do not fear what you are about to suffer. Us as the children of Israel, blacks, all scattered 4 corners of the earth, in Africa, America, the Caribbean, South America, Australia, the Pacific Islands, Asia, Middle East, all the black people that are scattered. We shouldn't fear what we are about to suffer. And that is, it's because in the end time, the Gentiles' time would be fulfilled. Yes, Esau is ruling at this day, but Jacob shall rule at the end. So we shouldn't fear what we're about to go through, because soon it's going to be our turn to rule the world. Now let me get on to my second point. So, the sun. So with white people, and mind you, and I hear there's this debate between are white people Esau or Japheth. That'll be my next video, but I don't want to get into it. But the sons of Japheth, this is what people forget. They still think white people are the real Jews, but are not. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshesh, and Tyrus, the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, which are the Ashkenazi Jews, Riphath and Togarmah, the sons of Javan, Elsha and Tarshish and Kittim. Kittim, I'm about to go to my third point, and Dodanim. From these the coastlands people spread in their lands, each with his own language, by their clans and in their nations. And Japheth occupied most of Europe and a bit of Asia as well. Now, let me tell you my third point. The Ashkenazi Jews are their lineage. They claim to be Ashkenazi Jews. They call themselves Ashkenazi. So if they call themselves Ashkenazi, they say they come from Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz is not a descendant of Abraham. He's a descendant of Japheth. He is Japheth's grandson. So right there on the spot, white Ashkenazi Jews live in Israel. They are not the real Jews. And I'll say this again. The white Ashkenazi Jews are not the real Jews. They are the children of Japheth that inherited the land and taking on another identity. Taking on the Israelites' identity. Now, let me tell you more about sons of Javan and Kittim. How all these people are closely related. Remember, I have other lessons planned for this. Now, I'm going to say this again. This is the third point. This is the list of all Japheth's sons who are the progenitors of these European nations. Now, let's go over this. Gomer, Franza. Gomer is the progenitor of the Gauls, or the Galatians. Ashkenaz, Riphath, the Riphians, the Bartonium, and the Phalagonians. Togarmah, Armenia, the Phrygians, Hithlah, bear with me guys, Itak, Buzar, Elakanam, Ragbib, Tarkai, Bid, Zebuk, Yomaz, Arhithla, Angal, Angoli, Balgar, Parsnuach, Ardubni. Now Magog, Magogim, the Scythians. And here in Babylon to Timbuktu, a book I have, it says that Magog's race are known to be the uneducated, uncivilized people on the planet. I'll bring that up on another lesson of part 2. Madai, or the Medes, they went off and mixed with the Elamites. Javan, which begat the Greeks. Macedonia, Elsha begat the Alolians, the Almanium, between Mount Job and Shebathmo. Of them are the Lombardi, who conquered Italia. Tarshish, Sicilia, capital city was Tarshish. Kittim, which is Rome. So who are the Italians today, Well, they're not just Japheth, they're also Kittim. Well, Kittim, Rome is a descendant of Japheth, but they are a product of Esau as well. But I'll bring that up in the next. Ronim, Canopia, Tibru. Before coming to Italy, they stopped on the island of Scythema or Cyprus. Dodanum, which begat the Trojans. Tabal, which begat the Ibers, the Tuscana, the Pascia, the Sabina, and East Italy, the people of East Italy. The Meshesh are the Russians, Shabashini, Cappadocians, the Don, Zaron, Shabashni. Now Tyrus, finally, the Thracians, the Kushni, Angales, and all the other people as well. Here, this gives you an idea of where the descendants of Japheth are, but there are more European nations that are descendants of Japheth as well, and Asian nations as well. But I'll explain that in part 2. Now next, I'm going to break down about the Esau and Japheth story. And Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, the brother of Jacob, captain of the host to Angeas, king of Dinhaba, was still daily enticing the Angeas to prepare for battle to fight with the sons of Jacob in Egypt, aka black. So for all y'all, don't be stupid, because the white people live in Egypt weren't even in Egypt long enough to say they were Egyptians. Ancient Egyptians were black, and they all fled into Eastern Africa because of the invaders. But that's the next lesson. But anyway, and when Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, saw Angeas despaired of going forth to battle with the Egyptians, Zepho, which is grandson of Esau, fled from Angeas from Africa, and he went and came on to Kittim. Now let's go more into Kittim. Who Kittim is? Kittim is grandson of Japheth, right? Now let's see. Zepho became the first Edomite king to rule Kittim. And let me tell you where Kittim is, okay? Then I'll pop the thing now. Zepho becomes the first Roman king, first Edomite Roman king. And the children of Kittim saw the valor of Zepho, and the children of Kittim resolved, and they made Zepho king over them. And he became king over them. And while he reigned, they went to subdue the children of Tubal, a fellow brother from the same lineage of Japheth, and all the surrounding islands. And their king Zepho went at their head, and they made war with Tubal and the islands, and they subdued them. And when they returned from the battle, they renewed his government for him. You know, it's really, really interesting. If Zepho was the Edomite king, ruled Kittim, and Kittim, son of Javan, which is the son of Japheth, they had to go and subdue Tubal, which is another son of Japheth. You understand? All these people come from the same ancestors except Esau. Esau put his seed among all the people in Japheth, which makes white people for today. So when people argue, say white people are Japheth, white people are Esau, no, brethren, like, they're a product of both Esau and Japheth. And you have to remember, there are Edomites in Africa too. There are Edomites that fled into Africa. And just again, that's another lesson. We need to wake up, guys. Lastly, and they built for him a very large palace for his royal habitation and seat, and they made a large throne for him. And Zepho reigned over the whole land of Kittim and over the land of Italia 50 years. Italia, isn't that their so-called Italy aka descendants of Romans, which are descendants of Kittim, which are descendants of Javan, which is a descendant of Japheth. Come on, guys. If anybody going to be stupid in the comment section to be like, oh, that doesn't mean they're not Israel. Come on, don't be stupid. They all come from a common ancestor, which is Japheth. And they mix with Esau at the same time. So that definitely tells you white people, and no offense, are not God's chosen people. It's black people who are the Israelites. White people are not of Jacob. They are of Esau and Japheth, or just Japheth. It depends on their lineage. So just again, I proved my point. And I'll have another lesson to prove how and why black people are the real Israelites. And why black people are going through the curses. I'm going to put on a video.
You get the same Hebrew word for both. Tsor.
Tsor, the same as Tsor, a rock. Tsor, a place in Palestine. Tyre, Tyrus. The worldview of Esau has been passed down as a cultural inheritance throughout history, from Edom to the Roman Empire to the Catholic Church to modern Europe, and most recently to the United States and its empire. In other words, Western civilization as a whole.
Now it's important to note that Edom has covered the earth like dew. Most Christians are completely unaware that Esau or Edom is the founder of their religion, Christianity. They continue to teach that Japheth is the white man, which is not completely true. Esau infiltrated, subdued, conquered, and blended with Japheth in his land, and this is where they ceased to be a separate people. Edom has been assuming identities, conquering countries for thousands of years, whitewashing and changing history to cover his tracks. Another thing that Esau has been doing is editing scripture. He's been adding, taking away, manipulating things, all to control believers. Why do you think the book of Revelation says that if any man adds or take away from this book, that the plagues will be added unto him? The Most High said that for a reason, because he knew that this was going to take place. Now, if this wasn't possible, if this wasn't something that could actually happen, John wouldn't have had to write about it. So it was obviously written because the Most High knew that this was going to take place and that this was something that would be done to manipulate the word. Once Edomites distorted the true teachings of the early believers, he began to deceive and take on the identity of other people and literally rewrite history.
History is a pack of lies about events that never happened, told by people who weren't there. George Santayana. History is a set of lies agreed upon. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Most seminaries teach that Esau are the Arabs. And they also teach that the modern Arabs are Ishmael. So which is it?
We see that in ancient times, Edom was to be found amongst several ancient peoples, which they blended and assumed their identity. Other sources show Edomite elements in China, as claimed recently by an erudite Chinese scholar, and possibly also Japan. Edom on the whole may well have had a major influence amongst many of the world's populations.
See, does that answer your question? Well, yes. The guy already explained it. I already explained it. Now, if you really want to go, yeah. Black people and white people, we are brothers, but it's a long story. Very, very long story. You would have to understand the verse mentioned in the book of Genesis about Jacob and Esau. Now I'm going to turn to the Apocrypha, and I advise you guys to get it. It's all about Esau's the end, and Jacob is the beginning of that which followeth. Now let me bring that verse up and tell you what I mean. 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born, of him Jacob held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Now what does this verse, what does this passage mean? this pretty much said, who's ruling the world for today? Who's ruling it for today? And I don't want to hear nobody be like, oh, any person can rule. No, who's at the top of the top right now? Who's causing the world to shake a bit right now? Who is the end of the world? White people. You guys may think it's racist. I'm not being racist. It's the goddamn truth. And black people will rise and come into the truth. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. After white people's reign of rule, soon that will collapse, soon that will be done, and then black people will take over. We will take back what's ours, what the Most High wanted it to be. And Father, it had already been prophesied before I was born, before I was born, before you were born, before everyone was born. Father already made that prophecy. You can't change that. So, how I'm going to end off here is that this is part 1. Part 2, I'll break down more about it, about Jacob and Esau's birth, and I'll break down more about Esau. So, Professor Williams Carter, like, subscribe, stay tuned. All praises.